So I'm here to talk about quality. It's one of my favorite topics, and I like to start with a question. It's like, why is quality so rare? We live in this world of all kinds of advancements. We made these advancements in technology and skill and knowledge. We can build faster than ever. But why does it feel like quality is still not there? Like, why is it hard to come by? So that's the question I've been trying to answer. And this talk is about that, about craft, about care, and ultimately the choices we make. So let's start with craft. To me, craft is one of the key components of quality. And craft is something like very human. So it gives us this meaning to our work, and it's also like this process of where we shape nothing into something. And in that process, we put something of ourselves into it. And before machines, everything was made by hand. Every tool, every chair, every door. And those products reflected the care of those makers. And like, it wasn't always perfect. There was some rough edges and different skill levels, but when someone actually really put the attention to their work, it could be really great. There was this like connection with the work and the output. But then came mass production and manufacturing. We were able to do more, but we started to lose this connection. We could be more precise, but we weren't connected to the output anymore. We started focusing on the process itself. And we've been living through this process or this story in the software industry as well. It started with people that were crafting with small teams this novel software. They were trying to figure out how to use this new technology, and they took the pride in their work. The process started that way, but over time, the teams and the companies and the industry grew, and we started looking at this activity or this industry more like a manufacturing. Like, we started operating our companies like manufacturing lines. And as we learned to ship into the cloud multiple times a day, we started replacing the ways we think and work. We started thinking like, just ship it, or move fast and break things. And what happened was that we started replacing things. We started replacing purpose with metrics. If something doesn't move a metric, it doesn't matter. Even us designers stopped asking the question, does this feel right? And we started asking, does it convert? And we stopped using our judgment, and we started looking for data for answers. We made the experiments, the A/B testing, and those were the ways we could justify the choices. And it's an easy way to make decisions, but it's not always the right way to make a decision. And with this process, we started replacing the craft. We started focusing on the process itself and this kind of loop of optimizing, and shipping, that we stopped paying attention, like what are we actually doing? And to me, it's interesting that this cycle seems to keep happening with technologies. So this, Calkins, who was like an early advertiser, wrote this column in Atlantic 100 years ago. And he was complaining about this problem. He was complaining about Henry Ford and the manufacturing. And it's a long column, and there was a lot of things in it. But like what he said, though, like, is interesting how like familiar it sounds. So he said that the directing minds absorbed in the new wonder of so many things made so easily, only aggravated by the fact that producing these bad designs in incredible quantities. So he's talking about like how a lot of these companies and leaders like were getting so focused on the idea of like we can do more and we can do it easier, we can do it faster, and it's also because it's easier to do, you can also create large quantities of it. And then like he also talks about the connection we lost, that like when we passed this way we work from hand to machine, we did get some success out of it. Like we can do more, we can create more, but we also are still humans. We start missing something. Like he said that like we start missing something in our cheap but ugly products. So I think like there's this like a cycle of craft that happens in different industries or different areas, and it often starts with the craft, and then we come up with a new technology, things get easier, we start optimizing things, and then we start focusing on the process so much that we start forgetting the craft, like how do we make things great? And then we go back to because we're humans, some people start looking for it again. And then we go back in the beginning, someone brings the craft back. So I think why I want to talk about this is that I think there's this kind of default setting in the world where technology is great and it makes a lot of things easier and faster. But if we're not careful, it also pulls us away from some other things. So technology can make it easier to build or faster to build, but sometimes it also makes it harder to care or care for the craft. I think the reason is when you do more, when you focus on the process, or when you try to do things quickly, you stop thinking what is the right solution? What are you trying to do? So now quality. So I wanted to start with craft because I think it's one of the key ingredients to quality. Well-crafted items have this feeling to them, and I think these are separate concepts where kind of craft is the activity you put into something, you shaping something into something, and then quality is the output that someone feels out of that product, that the high quality or some kind of experience they feel. But the problem with quality is it's very hard to define. A lot of people have tried, and there's this Christopher Alexander who wrote some books, and including this Timeless Way of Building, and he tried a lot of different definitions for this, and those are all kind of close, but they're not quite defining it. And he talked about it as a quality without a name, that there is this precise and objective thing that when you just feel it, you feel something feels alive, something feels right, and maybe you can't exactly define it, but it's there. It's like when opening a door that closes and opens very perfectly, you can feel that quality in that door. And I've been personally looking for this feeling my whole life, and my earliest memories is when I went to the store with my parents to look at some bicycles, and I remember looking at the vast amount of bicycles that why are so many of them kind of ugly? Why are they so bad, or they don't feel right? And why go through all this process of making this bicycle and then not making it good? And later I realized that not everyone thinks this way, and it's not everyone pays the attention, not everyone wants to do it, not everyone cares. But I cared. I didn't want to give up on it. So every job I had, every role I had, I tried to do this. And I'm still on this journey. So recently at Linear, we did this interview series on builders about quality. And my takeaway from these interviews was that all these different makers talked about this quality very differently. They have different ways of approaching their work, so there isn't a singular process that you can follow to create something great. It's more, they have very different kinds of approaches, but what I saw in all of these people is that they were looking for it. They believed that it matters, and then in their work, they were always looking for it. They were seeking for it. So I think the process for quality really is about that. It's the pursuit of trying to find the feeling of right. This just feels right. And that's what you try to do. And I think that's what we should do as designers. And while I started this talk, why is it so rare to see this quality? And I think it's out there. Some people do it, but many just give up on it. And a lot of jobs I had in the past, I always heard these reasons for it, that, well, quality doesn't matter because we have other priorities, or we cannot measure it, we can't define it, so why try to do it? And then, or it doesn't scale, we have a large company, so we can't do it. But these are all valid problems to solve, or challenges. But I always saw this excuses that what you're actually saying is that you are giving up on it. You're not actually believing that it matters. You're not even trying to solve these problems. You just give up on it before even trying. So when I started my company, Linear, we really wanted to make it as a core part of the company. Not because I just cared about it personally, but also because we saw it a way to win in a market. Because quality is rare, then if you can actually deliver it, you can actually kind of differentiate yourself, and you can like stand out in a market that is very crowded. So our simple strategy was like, let's just try to do these things well. Don't look at the process, or don't look at the metrics. We just try to do the right thing. And if we believe if we do the right thing, it will work and it will grow. And it did. So we entered this market that is very crowded. There's a lot of different issue tracking, project management tools. But yet we, very beginning, started seeing traction for it. And I think like because of the quality, like people could sense it. And I think like what quality can do is that because it's rare and like it's kind of interesting, it starts, the customers in the market can start gravitating towards you instead of you trying to like push yourself onto the market. And just to make this very clear, because like I think a lot of times I hear these arguments that like, well, quality doesn't make sense for a business. Like we have a business reason, so like, there's something like it doesn't make sense. So I'm trying to like explain this very plainly that I've seen this happen, and it helps all of the parts of the business. So why quality helps our business? So first of all, like because it's rare, people talk about it, so you kind of like get free marketing that way. People hear about it, so they get curious. So, well, I need to try it, and I want to see it. And then when they try it, they feel that in the work or in the product. And then when we are going to the sales conversations with some large companies, we already have the champions inside there to like are pushing the product for us. They want to buy this product, and then it's going through the motions of like figuring out how do we actually do it. And then once the company starts using the product, the adoption happens kind of organically. More people gravitate inside the company towards it, and we can often see like 2-3x expansion in the accounts when we actually close the account. And then if you think about all of us in like SaaS is often about like we are in this retention business. So ideally we keep the customers forever. And if you think about in your own life, what are the moments you unsubscribe from something? Usually, you subscribe to a magazine, and like maybe in the beginning it's really great and interesting, and then over time the quality goes down, and eventually you're like, why am I still subscribing to this thing? So the quality can be like a bad quality can push people away, and they find something else, or they just completely stop using your products. But I also see that like high quality can also do the opposite, where it builds loyalty, that over time people love your product even more, and it builds this like almost irrational loyalty that they don't want to leave because they believe in the product or in the team so much. And then there's this kind of customer halo that happens that like when more and more companies adopt it, and like the best companies adopt it, like more companies will follow. And to just say like there's a lot of like outcomes of this, and I just wanted to show that like I think on the business side we done very well. Like year 2 we were profitable, which is like rare for startups. Year 4 we had over 10,000 paying organizations as customers, including many of the like best companies out there. And this was done effectively with no marketing spend. We also didn't almost have like a sales team in the first 4 years. So a lot of this was done with the product, and I think with the quality that we were trying to push. And today we're working with some of the most interesting and best companies out there. Like Boom is building this supersonic airline. OpenAI is creating artificial intelligence. And I think the reason we are working with these companies today and got here so quickly is that we could show that quality, and these companies also try to be the best what they do, and to do that they often try to select the best tools. So to kind of wrap this whole thing up, I think this organic tweet from a user, I think kind of like explains it very clearly what I talk about here. So this user like heard about Linear, he wanted to try it, and then he kind of signed up and tried it, and he liked the experience. He said the product just feels right, that the quality level is rare. And then he tested the customer support, and he got a response in 30 minutes, and then 45 minutes the issue was fixed. And this is kind of like when I talk about quality, I don't mean the product quality or the design quality. I talk about the whole experience, so everything from the brand, sales, marketing, to the success and support. So that's kind of like the holistic quality that you want to achieve. So there isn't like a process the way we do this. So I think these are more principles or practices. So first of all, quality is just the North Star for every team. So including the sales team, like we want the sales experience to be good. Like if you think about if you try to buy like some enterprise software or any kind of software, there's a lot of bad experiences in sales, and we just want to provide a good experience. And it's not hard to imagine what that looks like, but people just often don't think about it. And then we try to keep the team small, like try to hire people that care about the craft and quality. We try to like use intuition and talk to the customers and not try to like use data to make the decisions for us. And then like we have the small teams that don't do handoffs. They more like iterate towards together and try to find that feeling of right. And then like we do like quality doesn't mean perfection. So we do MVPs, but like we use them more like internally and or limited betas or something. But like once something goes live for everyone, then we want it to hit the standards that we care about. And then we think that bugs are defects in the product, and we want to fix bugs. So we just think that it's better to just fix them right away than just fix them in a later point of time. So we have this like 0 bugs policy that we want to fix everything in 7 days. And to kind of like summarize this, like in the end, like building for the quality is really about like having the belief that it matters. So ideally, at the highest level of the company, that like we believe that quality is important and we want to do it. And then you just trying to kind of create this environment or these conditions for it to happen. So you need to like hire the people who care about it. You need to give them space to do it. You try to like find like processes or avoid processes that would take away from it. But I think like it all starts with this like belief that it works and it can be meaningful. So that choice. So I wanted to show you with this talk that we have these cycles in the world and technology that from like industrial revolution to AI today, that it's always like promising us something. Like it's promising like, yeah, now we can do everything fast and cheap and like you don't have to think anymore. But like if we just follow that promise or that direction, it will just pull us away from the craft and care and quality. So we kind of have to like push back on it. Like we can't stop these changes and we shouldn't stop these changes, but we also don't have to surrender to them. Like we can be this, all of us can be this force that like stands against the tide or against the stream a little bit. And we can try to find the care and the craft and the quality even when the world is moving this way or moving towards these technologies. So I wanted to show you that quality in the end is just like it's a choice that people make. And you can choose to do the craft and care in your work and put it in there. And you can try to like seek for this feeling of right. And this always starts with the individual. This is not like a company policy or something. Like it has to come from the individuals that you believe in it and you try to do it every day. And that's how it works. So you can be one of these individuals that seek this quality without a name, even when it's not measurable, even when the world tells you no. I genuinely believe that this is the right thing to do. Like it's our job as builders or designers. I think we should be building good things for the world. And I also know that it can be good for the business. So it's not just like a personal quest, but it's also good for a business. So I would want you to all to consider this. Regardless what the world around us might tell us, when we leave here, let's make this choice. Let's keep making things we are proud to put our names on. Thank you.